How should organizations be thinking about design and design systems as they consider front and back end technology modernization? Wonder, Julian, if you had any specific thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Design systems are something which sometimes in the enterprise we definitely feel like we deal with the haves and the have-nots. Not because people don't think about it or don't have the awareness, but just who is their target audience? Have they decided that it's enough of a priority to put design high up in the goals? You'll hear things like, well, our product's definitely something everyone's trained on, for example, and it just changes that mentality compared to branding comes before anything else. Now we'll try and get the features to be as good as possible. And, a design system, when it's there, provides answers. It's a bit like the visual layers architecture. It's a way that people can be helped in the way they think about visual decisions. When it's absent, it leaves a big gap for people to fill when they get asked something very simple like, add me a message on this page, and they start thinking, okay, where should that be? What's the typography? What's the margin around this? Does it just have to look okay and kind of intentional, or does it have to fit in with some scheme? Especially now, as well as whether you have a design system or not, and another trend has become agile as a productivity framework. It's become very common for there to be a stakeholder who in a very efficient way decides, yeah, I like the look of that. And sometimes they're thinking about things from that holistic point of view. Sometimes they're just thinking of their one feature and how do they imagine it in their heads. All these things are valid, and that whole emphasis of agile, of people versus processes, it can be counterproductive when you're trying to make something repeatable, something more holistic. And I think in modernization, this is hugely important, because in modernization, there is something that may be starting from a very disparate, less cohesive standpoint. It's quite common. It's your chance to harmonize things. But it's also a time when your developers are going to be under pressure to reproduce various experiences, to recreate various content. And without getting into the weeds of it, I believe HTML5 is something which brought in that notion we can structure our pages around the semantics of what are we building content-wise, what's our layout. And if people do that, it becomes much more flexible when it comes to people either bringing in a design system, iterating a design system, changing branding because something's changed organizationally. It's just a piece of our world that became very informed with CSS taking over from other approaches to layout. And sometimes efficiencies coming from the greenfield world can start to push that flexibility away. And I think it's very important people hold on to it. The other thing that comes to mind is people treating especially third-party component systems as a design system. I think that's tremendously beneficial and energizing when you're in a greenfield environment and you have something to build fast, reach that MVP, prove it out. Maybe you don't mind there being throwaway. It's a little different when we're modernizing an enterprise app. We know that this thing's here to stay. We know there's a user base. You're probably going to be putting them through some pain anyway as you change your look and feel. There's a retraining, if you will, involved for people using that app. You don't want to do that too many times. You want to do this in a nice iterative way. And again, if you look at your system and it's not easy to make the look and feel match what marketing tell you it has to look like in a year, you've kind of been less flexible than you could have been.
That's great. Thank you, Julian.